up, everybody? Axe Wizard here. It's been a while, but still working on my game. So, back with another devlog episode of the series I so boldly named I Make a Game Start to Finish. And I haven't finished it yet. And there's a few reasons for it, but one of the biggest ones is scope creep, which is the topic of today's video. What is scope creep? Well, what is scope, first of all? Scope is, in the programming world, it's basically like the bounds of what you have to do. So, for example, when I started making this game, my scope was, okay, I'm going to make a 2D top-down space RPG, and I'm going to have, like, you could travel to different star systems. There'll be worlds in there. There's, like, events and stuff that can happen, and there's a few different factions, and you have bunch of different ships, and, some different weapons and, like, upgrades maybe. Okay, cool. Well, I've expanded the scope, and it's creeped up on me. Scope creep is like the slow expansion of that scope. And it's a common thing that happens not only in game development, but also when you're developing like applications or things like that for business applications. It's a common thing that can happen. And whether you are the sole developer on a project, or if you're working on a team and you have a project manager, or you're doing an agile methodology or whatever, it could still happen. External factors can also cause scope creep. My scope creep that I'm running into, however, is self-induced. Way to go, me. What have I done? Well, first of all, a while ago, I'm like looking back to the history of devlogs, right? The first scope creep that I had was, I'm gonna make a star system mapper tool. So I did that. I don't know if that's the first one. And then I changed the art style a few times, so that also expanded the scope. And then I changed engines entirely. I started this thing in Game Maker Studio, a Game Maker Studio 2. And I think like the first 29 episodes of this devlog were all in Game Maker. And then I switched to Godot just in the middle of it. I'm like, I got to the part where I started to need to make some UI elements, some user interface things like menus to display information to you and stuff to click on. And I hate doing UI in Game Maker Studio, so I was like, I would rather learn a whole new engine than do UI in GMS2 again. So that's a pretty big scope creep, because then I had to basically reprogram the damn game, because it's not going to be a one-to-one port. Like, I had to re-architect the thing, basically. And then because I didn't know what I was doing, this is the first, I would say, large game I'm doing in Godot, even though it's not really large. It seems large because I've made it that way because of scope creep. So that's where we're at. So what am I talking about? Well, last devlog, I left off with, I was creating a modder tool, right? To help be able to have people make their own ships and stuff like that, and make their own upgrades, make their own weapons, all this different stuff. That's massive scope creep. It's gotten to the point now where I haven't really added any new features to the game for several devlogs. It feels like I've just been refactoring old code. And that really kind of bums me out. Anyway, so I have this tool I was creating that allows you to basically, okay, I'm going to go here, I'm going to select a sprite, I'm going to go hand drawn. Let's say we're going to add in this this Coalition Super Freighter, right? We're going to add that in. Bam. So what this does, this tool, and it hasn't changed too much this last devlog, but it takes the image, and based on that image, it will create a bitmap that allows me to determine the polygons that I can create the collision shapes as well as the light occlusion shapes. So I just, boom, made that. So you can see here I have a polygon pool vector 2 array of a size 42. So I have a pool vector 2 array, which is a data type in Godot that specifically is a optimized array that's set to hold vector 2s, which are basically x and y pairs, right? That's what the data you put into it, but it's a vector is an arrow representing both direction and magnitude.
It's a mathematical term, a quantity represented by an arrow with both direction and magnitude, because I'm committing crimes with both direction and magnitude. Oh yeah!
So this size of the array is 42. It means it has 42 like indexes in it, basically, like 42 things in it, right? 42 points. In this case, 42 vector 2s. And that determines what the collision shape is. And so I have that working. It just does it. So now from this tool, we can add in like thrusters. And so I can put a rear thruster there, boom. I'll add another rear thruster here, boom. I'll add another rear thruster here, boom. I'm going to add a rear left thruster like right here, which is activated when you're turning it or strafing. I'm going to put those there just for funsies. And I don't like that last one. I'm gonna undo. Add one right. Yeah, there we go. I'm gonna add a right rear thruster. Actually, you know what? That last one didn't place right. I'm gonna undo both those. I just realized that this isn't named in a right. Rear left and right rear. It should be rear right, but whatever. Boom, I got those. I'm going to add the front. I'm going to put one like right there. I'm going to put one like right there. I'm going to put one right over here. And one like right over there. There we go. So we got some thrusters. Okay, cool. So now we can set the variables of our ship. And we can set our tags. So it's obviously a ship. It's going to be, let's see, this is a freighter. So it's going to be a freighter. It's going to be, let's see, mechanical. And it's gonna have electrical components. And there's one other thing we needed to add. I forgot what it was. Freighter, mechanical, electrical, ship. Okay, so ship is already added. So then we can specify like what the attributes of this thing are, which I'm not gonna do right now. Just you can do that. And then I have it so you can add weapons onto it. And then this is where I kind of left off. So weapons. So if I want to add, say, so this is a coalition ship. So if I wanted to add, like, I don't know, a coalition medium gun, boom, I can just put that pig right on there. Boom. Done. Right there. Boom, we got that. We're going to add, let's see, a missile launcher, because you know what? I'm going to put that right there. A big old missile launcher. And then I'm going to do, let's see, a light beam laser. Why not? Got to have lasers, right? Then we're going to add some turrets. Coalition. No, let's do... See, I don't have a way to like cancel it when I click it. We'll do coalition light beam laser turret. Boom, right there. So you have this stuff. You can just add the weapons and stuff on there, right? But this isn't done yet because I changed how it works because I refactored how I handle weapons. Previously, I had it set to where you would place weapon slots on the ship, and then you could slot those weapons. So if you have a light weapon slot and a medium weapon, it won't fit in the light weapon slot. But if you have a ship that comes with, like, say, three light weapon slots, 2 medium weapon slots, and maybe a heavy weapon slot, you can slot those interchangeably. However, not all weapons are created equal, and I wanted more fine-tuned control over it. So I decided to just fall back to what Escape Velocity Nova was doing, to where it had mass. Every weapon you add has a certain mass rating that it takes up. If your ship has enough mass, you can add the weapon. So if you want to have, say, 3 heavy weapons or 12 light weapons, you can do whatever the hell you want as long as you have the mass for it. So I refactored that. And so weapon slots are no longer a thing. And then upgrades. I started adding upgrades. So I have only one upgrade here, but this is like a Synthocracy rotational thruster overtune. So if I put that like right here, boom, it has an upgrade. I wanted a visual upgrade on the ship. So as you're like fighting in combat, you can kind of see like what ships have equipped as you get to know them better. And so you could see, okay, this one's got a rotational upgrade, which increases the turn speed. So I've got that added in, and I refactored the ship code to handle all the modifiers. So I'm just refactoring all the same code. And this still isn't even fucking done yet. I still have to make it so you can export it. And then because of the changes I made, I have to go and redo all the ships that I've already done. So I think I'm just going to shelve this tool for right now, because it's something I can add in later, but I just feel like if I add it right now, as I add more features to the game, actual features like gameplay stuff, events, other weapons, defenses, like more factions, more ships, more planets, story, all that stuff, there's going to be things that I didn't think of initially that is going to change how stuff works. If I have to keep coming in here and modifying this tool to handle that, I'm going to pull my beard out. So I'm going to shelve this until towards the end of the game when I'm getting close to release it. I might even release it and then add it in as a feature later during an update. It is something I do want to add, but right now, this has kind of killed my motivation to work on the game, because the way hectic, the way that things have been lately, super hectic. My spare time is kind of like in chunks, like little chunks. And I haven't really been devoting much time to working on this because I like to have a large chunk of time devoted to work on something, because every time I open this game, I'll show you. Every time I open this game, here, let me show you this cool feature of Linux Mint. Boom, look at that. We can zoom in on something. So every time I have to basically just like kind of pick up where I left off. So this is the things that have been done since the last episode. So I've worked more on the ship creator screen, added the ability to undo placements. I guess that wasn't a feature I had on the last video. Text input sanitization. I did that. So I basically made I'll get into that in the code review section coming up soon. But yeah, move weapon slots, now have mass and ships. I just talked about that. Added ability to place weapons onto a ship. So, and then where I left off, it's like I constantly read this. Okay, so then I will go to my, what is it called? I don't even remember. Modern Ship Creator, and then I go through this already long ass script, which is already like almost 600 lines of code, and not to mention if I actually open up that in the scene itself. You can see over here that, maybe not that big, but you can see over here that there's tons of nodes, and these are collapsed. These have more nodes and things in them. And I really should break these out into separate components, but then I got to connect all the signals, and it's just, it's pain in the ass. I know I'm complaining about making a game, but that's how I feel about it right now. I want to add more cool features, more things I can do. And right now I can't even really run the game because all the previous ships it tries to load are broken, because the spawner, the save scenes of all the existing ships have weapon slots which don't exist anymore. So it's kind of like, what the hell do you want me to do? That's what Godot says when I try to run it. So, as I said, I think I'm just gonna shelve this tool for right now. I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna fix the ships I have manually. I'm gonna fix those to handle my change, and then I'm just gonna start adding a bunch of upgrades, new weapons. And I'll probably add a few more locations and stuff like that, because I want to start working on like the event system and like the dialogue system or whatnot, if you can call it that. I don't know if it's going to be technically dialogue, but I want to start working on the story of it. And I'm going to have to go through and I'm going to have to refactor the existing user interface that I have for like landing at a location and using the trade market thing. What's it called? Trade center? Commerce, trading, right? I got to refactor that UI. And so I'm constantly rebuilding the features I've already made, which is really frustrating. And it's all thanks to scope creep. And it's also, it's not entirely due to scope creep. It's also due to me being an asshole perfectionist and taking code that already works and thinking I could just make it better. And I'm just constantly fixing code that already works, right? Because I think it could be better. Which is a habit that I have to stop doing. If it works, it works. If it's not broke, don't fix it. Keep it simple, stupid. All these sayings and adages that have been passed down through the centuries, right? Just fucking... So here I am with a broken game that doesn't run for a feature that wasn't even in my original plan. To be fair, the feature of the modder ship creator thing isn't the sole reason why. I was already feeling the pains with the weapon slot system before, so how I wanted to handle that. And then I when I wrote all the code for the ship and stuff like that, I didn't give any thought to upgrades at all. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to add upgrades later. I didn't do any thinking or brainstorming or wireframing or whiteboarding on how I'm going to actually implement that. So on my ship script, you know, I've refactored this so many fucking times. It's still almost 1,500 lines of code just in my ship script. There was a period of time where I was playing around with AI, different type of AI than normal, not I guess normal. So previous devlogs, I was playing around with AI art, and I was like, oh, that's not really an ethical thing to do. I'm kind of a shitbag for doing that. I probably shouldn't do that. So then I stopped using AI art generators and started just writing my code and making my own art, which is why it looks kind of silly. But I've been trying to use AI a little bit to help me program, because I'm not copying and pasting, first of all. And to be honest, I don't think I have any code that is generated by AI in here. That was a whole nother frickin' tangent of stuff that slowed my development. I heard that Claude by Anthropic was like a really good AI for programmers. And I was like, okay, cool. I'll try it out. And it was when I was working on refactoring all the code to transition from weapon slots and weapons to just weapons and mass, right? And I was also telling it that, hey, I'm having this kind of pain point with my project here, where my ship script is super massive, because there's a bunch of stuff that's just in here that is bloating it. There's all the variables for the ship itself. There's a bunch of stuff about AI. There's AI meaning the behavior of non-player entities, right? So like state, handling the state so that the in-game AI can handle that stuff, right? It feels so weird saying that, because previously in development, oh yeah, I have to make the enemy AI, right? But now it's like you hear that and you think, oh my god, you're putting Chat GPT in your game? You mean Open AI is gonna be controlling my spaceships in your game? Hell no, right? It just seems weird to say that. But when I say AI in terms of like behavior in the game, I just mean the old definition, where you're basically making a state machine and you're programming behavior that you want a non-player controlled entity to do based on the current state. So I have all that logic in here. That could probably be moved to like an AI controller And that can even be broken out into several things. You can see I've already broken out a few things here. So we have like ship thrusters, we have ship weapons, ship shields, and upgrades. And, you know, those I broke out separately as nodes. Upgrades is just a node 2D, just to hold upgrades right now. It doesn't have any logic. It's not a class like ship shields, ship weapons, and ship thrusters are, because I don't need it to be a class right now. So, oh my god, where was I? What's up, everybody? Editor Axe Wizard here. Okay. Let me just... So, I was trying to edit the original footage, and I don't know if I'm just having a day or what, but on the original clip, I went off on like 78 different tangents. And then when I tried to make like a little clip like I am now to insert in the video, I kept going on more tangents. So let me just give you the bullet points here. The point I was trying to make with this current segment was that I tried Claude AI, and my code looked beautiful. It was the best thing ever. It like broke everything out into smaller components. It was just beautiful. It didn't work at all. Claude forgot one very key detail. Godot cannot handle cyclic dependencies, and that's the way it architected everything. So thankfully I used version control, so I just reverted my entire, like I just stopped my working branch and just reverted back to main and picked up right where I left off. So I saved you 15 minutes of rambling there. The next point I wanted to make is that was one big example of scope creep. As I did the AI art, I tried using AI to better my code base, and that was a huge waste of time. I did various other things that were outside of the original scope of what I planned to build for this game, and a lot of them don't really matter in this video, but that was the basic bullet points, right? Star system mapper tool, the art, changing engines, like all these different things were massive things that affected the scope of the game. So the best way I like to think about scope is, imagine as a developer, I task you with the following requirements. I want something that floats on the water. I want, you know, something that's got life rafts and stuff on there. I want to be able to hang out with my friends. And I really want to have barbecues and stuff on there. And I want to be able to, you know, sail around like a bay or something, right? So given those requirements, you might think, okay, I'm going to build a boat. And then I come back later and either internally as you as the developer or externally someone who's wanting you to do something, you build this awesome boat, or you're in the process of building a boat. And then you're thinking, man, what if I can make this baby fly? You didn't build a plane, you built a fucking boat. So scope creep can be not so much a creep, but a scope explosion, which is kind of what I keep doing to myself. But anyway, I'm going off on more tangents. So when we're going to cut back in the video, I was going through some of the code review stuff I did. Most of it's not really relevant because I'm shelving this feature I was working on anyway. And it's going to change by the time I get back to it. So I'm not even going to do a code review on it. There were some changes I did make to the code, mostly adding in handling the removal of weapon slots as a concept. So I had to do a little bit of re-architecting to handle that. And then I have mass added in, but I haven't been using it yet. So that's one thing. So right now, when we cut back into this video, I'm talking about the changes I'm going to make going forward, which are mostly going to be fixing my existing ships because having to handle weapon slots broke everything. And then my plans going forward, I think I cover that. If I don't, I'll make another little editor's note. But yeah, I just saved you guys like an hour of rambling. You're welcome. Back to the video. I basically have to kind of redo bits and parts, like bits and pieces of my ship modifier screen, to work on the shipyard screen in game so that you could place weapons, you can remove weapons. So I'll be doing something like that, a similar thing for the game. So yeah, but my current project right now is for all of these ships that we have over here. I have to move stuff around. So they have ship weapons and they have a bunch of weapon slots. I have to basically note what position these are going to be. And then I got to replace them with the actual weapons that they're supposed to have. So coalition light gun, that means I have to put an actual coalition light gun weapon there in place of the weapon slots. So right here, these freaking weapon slots are still here. And then you can see some of the thrusters look odd. Like right here, this thruster point is off a little bit. And so is this one. This one's just in the middle of fucking nowhere. And that is because I had to change... I forgot what I changed, but basically the origin used to be centered on these. And I changed it to be at the base of the emission. Because I'm going to change the particles anyway. So... I made that change, so now they all look fucking derpy because they're just the thrusters in the middle of fucking nowhere. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I got. I just wanted to make some video to talk about scope creep, and you know, this is part of making a game start to finish. It's not all sunshine and rainbows, and you get to see every stupid mistake I make in this devlog. Or in this series, because I think of myself as a pretty good developer. There's logical reasons for why I choose to do things, and I try to do research on things to figure out better ways to do stuff, but I'm human. I make mistakes, and I have flaws. This game seemed like it was going to be a pretty small scope project when I started it. Oh, it's just a 2D top-down space RPG. Well, there's a lot more involved in it than I thought. And I feel like I keep digging my own hole bigger and bigger, and I'm not really climbing out of it. I'm just digging it more. So that's where we're at. That's the status of the game. But once I get the ships fixed, I think I'm going to change gears. I'm just going to add more of the upgrades, and then I might start adding new features. Like, I want to start adding new weapons. I got a lot of cool ideas for fun new weapons, and I want to add those in. And I think that will sort of motivate me to work on the game more, because I feel like I haven't delivered an actual feature for literal months. It's all been refactoring code that was already working. For no real benefit yet, right? So, anyway, that's enough of me rambling. I appreciate you for watching this video. And I will see you in whatever video I make next, whenever I make it.